Buongiorno studenti! Oggi parliamo di ANZI. So let's see what this word really means in Italian and more importantly, how to use it correctly. Many students hear ANZI quite a lot in conversations in Italian, but it seems to be used in pretty contradictory ways. For example, we Italians often seem to say ANZI when correcting a statement, but also for strengthening one, or even for stating the opposite of what we just said. So, of course, students end up pretty confused by this word, ANZI. So, here's why this happens. In English, there's not one single word that translates exactly to ANZI. Depending on the context, in English, you could use words like actually, in fact, instead, on the contrary, rather, better still. But in Italian, anzi can cover all those situations. So, as I always say for all these kind of Italian words, these kind of weird or difficult Italian words, the key is to understand their function rather than trying to memorize all possible meanings, which would be totally overwhelming. So here are the three functions of ANSI with some real life example sentences that will help you understand it and how it works. So function number one, funzione numero uno, correcting a statement. Let's suppose I want to say I'm at pub or a place where I'm going to get a drink, and I say I will have a beer, or rather a glass of wine. So here you're saying something, but then you're immediately correcting yourself. This is where you can use anzi for the part of the statement that corrects what you just said. So that in Italian would be prendo una birra, I will have a beer. Mm, Anzi, un bicchiere di vino. Anzi, un bicchiere di vino. So see, I say something and then I say something different and I introduce that something different that's a correction with anzi. Ok, funzione numero due, intensifying an idea. So in this case, for example, you're talking about something. You're saying something like, oh, the book is interesting. This book is interesting. Actually, it's really engaging. So you're saying something, but then you are kind of intensifying the concept that you just expressed. You can use ANSI for that. So that would be, let's say, suppose we want to say, the book is interesting. Il libro è interessante. Actually, really engaging. How would you say that? Anzi, we can say davvero coinvolgente, so really engaging. Il libro è interessante, anzi, davvero coinvolgente. So here you're reinforcing an idea, intensifying an idea you just expressed. Numero 3, reversing an idea. So as you can see, there are pretty different usages of anzi. In this case, let's take a little bit more space. In this case, you may want to say something and then saying something else that kind of reverses the main idea. Per esempio, let's suppose you're talking about an item you're buying in Italy and you want to say, oh, well, it's not expensive. On the contrary, it costs very little. So that on the contrary reverses the main idea. You can use anzi for that. So let's see how we would say this. That would be, non è caro. It's not expensive. Anzi, anzi, costa pochissimo. Non è caro. Anzi, costa pochissimo. So you say something and then express the opposite and you introduce that opposite with anzi. Now, I would really love to know if you ever heard ANZI before and found it confusing. And if you want, you can try to use it immediately. So leave me a sentence with ANZI in the comments with any of these three usages. Now, going back to the examples, what I want you to notice is that the pattern is always the same. You say something first, and then ANSI introduces a correction, a stronger version, or an opposite idea. And by the way, if you want to review this word and the functions, the usages that ANSI has in Italian, and you want to practice it with more examples, then I prepared a free PDF for you for this lesson. In the PDF, you will find a simple recap of how ANSI works, like we saw today, plus some extra example sentences that I included to help you practice and remember it more easily. Now, if you want to download the PDF, you will find the link in the description below this video, and it's free as always. And now, something else that I want to share with you is this. ANSI can also be used on its own as a short and empathic reply. So you may hear ANSI used self-standing. For example, a phrase like this. Ti disturbo? So when someone is asking you, am I bothering you? So ti disturbo? And you want to reply, no, not at all, or quite the opposite. Then you can use ANSI. So you can say, ti disturbo? Well, we will probably say, no, ANSI. So that means quite the opposite, not at all, please come in. As you can see, this is a special case of the contrasting idea function. The only difference is that the other person says the first statement and you just use ANSI to completely reverse the idea. So this is a very natural expression that we Italians use all the time in real life conversations. So what I want you to remember is this. ANSI is a very common Italian word that we use to correct, strengthen, or even reverse what we just said. And if you like this type of videos and you want to watch more like these, then please check out my Italian words playlist, where you will find more tricky Italian words explained simply like today. The link will be below this video. È tutto per oggi, ci vediamo al prossimo video. Ciao da Valentina!